All right. Do do do. Okay, so today we're going over the new war section of the art book. We finished all of the factions, so now at this point it's So yeah, we finished all the factions. So now at this point, there's the next few chapters relate to specific story moments. So there's the New War, Angels of the Zariman, and the Duviri Paradox. So, and you know, this is sort of my favorite section of the lore. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to go into these and see, what gets revealed, if anything. I would love to, I think there's like a lot of outstanding questions for some of these, and so I would love to see if we get any answers to those. So yeah. Let's go ahead and start. We've got this nice banner image of I think this is a Condrox Condrix. Sorry, I got Condrock and Condrix mixed up. And I'm just now noticing that those are almost the same word, which is so we got a Condrix in the Plains of Eidolon. I'm assuming that's what it is. It's actually not super clear. Oh, yeah, no. Here, it's hard to see. But here you see the towers the energy wall barrier towers that ring the plains and project, like, the energy force field. So yeah, this is the Plains of Eidolon. It's just, it's at night. This is, like, the first, if you've played the New War... you know that this is the first mission. Losing my voice? Does my voice sound funny? I'm not losing my voice as far as I know. Let me... apologies if I sound weird, I guess. And yeah, so you see, like, the big Condrix here... and then there's other Condrix in the background, and then the big Murex here. It doesn't actually look like it's supposed to be. If it's the Murex from the Plains, it's supposed to be sitting on top of the Tower of the Unum, but you can't really see the Tower of the Unum. Not really. Yeah. There's also this, which I don't know. There's some sort of sentient structure or device here. It looks like there's a bit of a glare on this part of the on this part of the image, but there's some weird sentient thing here. It looks like a ramp or a catapult almost that's like shooting in this direction, but I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then, like everything else, it's got a there's a intro from for this for this section. This one is from Jeff Crooks, the creative director. Warframe began as a game with no quests. We had no real campaign or story, but we had the action and gameplay we wanted in a setting that was distinct. When we released the second dream in 2015, we realized we could do something none of us expected in the early days. Deliver a story the players would be invested in. The New War is the culmination of everything we set out to do. It's ambitious, haunting, memorable, and visually it takes every piece of Warframe's foundation and makes it part of the story. From Fortuna's fall to the Archons, The environment, characters, and cinematics all set up to tell the player one thing: the war is lost. The new war filled me with pride thanks to how hard the team worked to deliver it to our community. So yeah. So right away we get a bunch of sketches of the Drifter. Like various drifters too. Just a bunch of different... That was an interesting... I remember playing... When I first played through the New War, there was like a bug with the... with the face, because it's supposed to like take your operator's face, and if you do... if you do the New War before you do Duviri Paradox, because once you do Duviri Paradox, you have a chance to customize your drifter. But of course, if it was when New War was released before the Duviri Paradox, so when you first get like the face reveal after the 4th mission, it's supposed to match your operator's face and just age it up. Something went wrong with the script, though, so my drifter looked nothing like my operator, and I didn't get the reveal that this was supposed to be an older version of your operator, of your specific operator, for like a little while. I think it was like 2 missions later when Hun Hao like just calls the drifter a Tenno, to their face, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's what this was supposed to be, and it just didn't work out. But yeah. So, but there's a bunch of different... There's actually, these concepts, there's like a bunch of different concepts. A lot of them look like they're like Grineer salvage, which makes sense because we see the Drifter on Earth, and that is, I assume, where they spent most of their time before like the story catches up to them in the New War. And so there would have been like, Grineer is occupied, or Earth is occupied by the Grineer. There would have been a bunch of Grineer stuff for them to salvage. They have like a base Zariman suit, and it's just been sort of supplemented with like random stuff. But some of these suits look pretty interesting, I will say. My operator was bald anyway at the time, so I knew. Yeah, my operator was completely bald. Like, the skin color was completely different. I don't know why that happened. Like, it was just not clear to me. They were like, oh, face reveal, and I was like, am I supposed to know anything about this? The way the cutscene works is like very... It's like, oh, this is a reveal. And so I kind of guessed at that point what was supposed to happen, but I just wasn't sure. Alright, so... but yeah, different styles. This one's a lot slimmer. It doesn't have like the big bulky armor or like external, pouches of the other ones. This one's interesting. This one's got... These are like specific Grineer shoulder armors. Or it's like the Harkonnen armor, but like only one of the shoulders looks like this. It's, I think, the left shoulder, and then the right shoulder looks completely different, but in here they're matching. They've also got different colored or different helmets. So this one, like, the visor pops up, which is, I think, weird. This one is not clear how it opens. This one, what I'll say about this one is it actually sort of reminds me of Major Nessie Rusalka, who is upcoming in 1999, and I think we might be able to actually encounter her in a couple of weeks, because on October 16th they're putting like a demo of 1999 in the game, and where you fight Skaldra, so we might see Major Rusalka at that time, but if not, we'll see her in like December or whenever 1999 releases. But based off of the TennoCon demo, the Skaldra guys, they've got these like really bulky suits, and they're like even more so than the Grineer. They're like, I don't know. It's very strange. So and that's what this is sort of reminding me of, especially with like this like big helmet that completely protects the neck, and then this big like tentacle thing that hangs down. I don't know what that is. This reminds me of the Skaldra guys. The Drifter regularly hangs out with Grineer, don't they? I mean, they rode off in a thumper in the first quest of the New War. Not a thumper. It's a Bullcore or a Scout, possibly. Bullcores and Scouts have the same model, but Scouts are a lot smaller. So yeah, they have a Scout craft, which is a Grineer, like, smaller ship, when you first meet them in the New War. And then, in the next mission they upgrade to get a Corpus, what is it? A Condor dropship. But yeah, I don't think they hang out with Grineer. I think they're just... The vibe I was getting from the New War is that the Drifter had been around on Earth for a while, and they were just sort of, hanging around in the background and scavenging what they could and stealing what they could. And so I assumed that they stole the ship, not that they, asked for it. The first one on the second page looks like a zombie. Yeah, I think it's the stance mostly that does that. They're just got this weird wide stance. And then they're looking off to the side, and they've got a gas mask on. Yeah. This one's also very interesting. They've got this asymmetrical cape. This one's very just asymmetrical in general, with the shoulder armor and the Grineer face kneecap on this leg only. And this padded the thigh armor is interesting too. And then you just got this umbilical cable. There's this clearly some sort of Grineer thing. Like a Grineer would maybe have a need for some sort of cable like this, but it's just wrapped around as extra protection or something. The vibe I got was that the Drifter was a part of a resistance or something. Yeah, kind of a resistance, but they don't seem to have been doing much. I think before we catch up to them in the story. They'd already connected with Ordis, they were talking with them, and they were used to them almost. Yeah, it did seem like they were part of a resistance, but it didn't seem like there was anyone else involved except Ordis. It's hard to say. And then here you've got just a big one, like a zoomed in sketch of a Drifter, again with a lot of pouches and a lashed together Grineer mask. But yeah, it makes sense. Hi Ninja. Welcome. We were just finishing looking at these Drifter sketches, and now we've got a bunch of other sketches. So this one, I'll start over here. This is the first glimpse we got of Ballas, and I believe this was uncovered at TennoCon 2017. So that would have been 4 years before the New War, 4.5 years. And then the first time Ballas shows up in the game was Apostasy Prologue, which was in December of 2017. So almost exactly 4 years before. Apostasy Prologue was kind of funny because if any of you were not playing at the time, they DE always does this thing where they do something over the winter break and then they release it and they hotfix one or two things and then they leave for weeks for vacation, for Christmas vacation. And so the thing they did in 2017 was the Ghoul event, the first Ghoul Plague event, and then it ended up recurring every 2 weeks after that. But they did the Ghoul Ghoul Purge thing, and it lasted for I think longer than it does now. And as part of that update, they also added in the apostasy prologue with no discussion. It was not mentioned in the patch notes. There was just a purple glowing orb in your personal quarters. Actually, I think that's also when they released. That's also when they released the personal quarters as well. Nowadays, you get it when you finish the War Within, but it wasn't unlocked until 2017, the end of 2017, when in the Ghoul Purge update they also added in the personal quarters, and you would build it, and as once you walked in, you would see like the purple glowing orb that triggers the apostasy prologue, and then you see Balos. So it was a funny little like surprise lore drop right at the end. And I have a thing I could talk about this like, you know, at some other time, but DE has this history of people remember they do this thing where they release a big update and then they go off on vacation, and there's usually a lot of complaints about bugs that happen, and they have like some people around to like try to fix the bugs, but it's like a skeleton crew in the office. And people complain about like bugs that are happening when they're on vacation, but they also usually do some sort of like lore-ish like secret. It's like a secret usually. And they don't mention it, and people also discover that over the winter break. And I think one of these days I'll just like go through and list off what these were, because it's a pattern. They do it a lot actually. And I think it's really funny. The releasing like a bug-filled update and going on vacation, that's like obviously not great, but I do like the secrets that they put in. I'm still convinced Balos was on the moon the whole time, as he only showed it back up when it came out of the void. Very good point. We literally get no information as to where Balos was, but he shows up, shortly after it gets pulled out of the void, and he also shows up on the moon. That's the first place we see him. But yeah, it comes out of the void in Second Dream, and then you have the War Within, Chains of Harrow, and right after that is Apostasy Prologue. So it's supposed to be shortly thereafter. Yeah, there's one of this like blank spots is Balos. Clearly, he's very involved in the Old War, and then he's also presumably involved in the end of the Old War, where the Tenno kill all of the Orokin and trigger the collapse. There's not a lot of discussion about Balos' role in that event, but I think it sort of has to be implied based on what we know about what Balos is doing. So he escapes because he's involved, and then he just disappears, and there's no record of what he was doing or where he went, and then he shows up in Apostasy Prologue, 1,000 years later. So, there's I assume he went into some sort of hibernation or cryosleep, because he's literally just absent from the setting, and if he wasn't, he would be fairly powerful, because we see that he retains a lot of, even though Orokin society and civilization has fallen, he's still got access to a lot of the technology, and so he would absolutely be the ruler of the Origin system if he was around in that big interregnum before the Tenno woke up. So I think he must have been sealed himself away in cryosleep or something. I don't know why he did that. But yeah. That was a bit of a tangent. But yeah, great. This is, like I said, this is the first concept image we saw of Balos, of any Orokin. And he's got his paracesis. I really thought that this was a gun at the time. It's in its scabbard, so it's not super obvious to me, at least, that it's a sword. And it's a little hard to see how the arm is elongated. Yeah. I still really like this image of Balos. It's very cool. It's a good angle of his clothes, especially this shoulder part, which you don't, I think, usually see. Anyway, maybe he was imprisoned for being a traitor, but imprisoned by whom? Because all the other Orkin were dead, and Lotus was completely under his control at that point. So I don't know who would have imprisoned him, and why, how he would have been freed from. I mean, I guess Umbra, he could have, if he was imprisoned on the moon, he could have been shaken out by it coming out of the void, but I don't think he was imprisoned. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Everyone hates the Orkin after the collapse. He probably was waiting for the return of the sentience. That's also possible. I'll grant that. But I still think he was powerful enough that he could have made it work. Maybe not immediately, but he could be as one person, he could be zipping around the solar system, collecting Orkin technology, which only he could use. And there was a lot more of it back then because the Empire had just fallen. And so he could have just gone around and gotten all the important things he needed. He would have probably had complete control over the robotics that would have been still around, the corrupted, any corrupted legions that were around, and the Grineer. I mean, the Grineer started as an independent faction. Started with one guy, as far as we could tell, one mutant Grineer called VIII, who had a mutation where he could disobey, and he was also smarter and bigger. And I mean, this guy was a superhuman or super Grineer. And he sort of founded the Grineer Rebellion, and then the Queens later took it over from him. But Grineer are conditioned to obey, and he could have wrested control of a significant portion. They're specifically conditioned back then to obey the Orkin, and so he could have taken control of a significant portion of the Grineer at that time as well. So I think if he was active, and he clearly wants to rule, if he was active around that time, the collapse, or most of the time in between, I think he could have pretty easily taken over the solar system. The Twin Queens would also want him dead. I mean, true, but I still don't think that that they would have been able to go up against him, because he was an executor. He has access to literally everything. There's nothing that he doesn't have the authority to control. Queens were busy hiding themselves, yeah. I mean, the Queens, the Curia poem that describes the origins of the Queens is interesting. This is the second page of this section. We're going slow. The Curia poem that talks about the Queens is interesting because it sort of talks about this long, extended rebellion of the Grineer, led by VIII, presumably, fighting against the remnants of the Orkin Empire as things are collapsing. And apparently it was not one-sided, So, which is curious that, Orkin remnants were not... Because I'm assuming that they still have access to, some technology and some stuff, and yet they still couldn't fight back, this horde of Grineer, and eventually... And the Queens start off fighting for the Orkin, and then the Grineer, respect them as commanders because they're also identical twins, and the Grineer, as clones, also feel an affinity to that. I mean, they were identical back then. Nowadays, they don't have their original bodies. So yeah, it is interesting that, the Grineer... at their start, were a match for the Orkin at their end. because it to me it still seems like the Orokin should have just like stomped them, but whatever. And so okay. Anyway, moving, trying to catch up here. So here we've got Ballas in his like Narmerized form, which we only really see him towards the end of the quest. And so he's already been like chimerified, but now he's like got all this Narmer regalia, including, you know, the hat with the and all these tassels, which look like they're clipping in this image. No, they're just folded. It looks like they're clipping through his chest, which doesn't make sense for a sketch. This is like a Keith Thompson sketch. And then he's also the dopey thing is that he like made a replica of his foot, the one that like withered away. And I think in the game he doesn't even remove like the withered foot. It's still there like behind this, like the wooden foot. That's always like really, it's really just creepy and like weird to me, which is obviously the intent. But yeah, like woof. Also, like, why is it such a shitty copy of it? It's like made out of, it's like this wood. It's like a wooden. It's in like multiple parts. Like they don't. He doesn't have the technology to make a more realistic looking foot. I mean, I think it's probably more for our benefit, because if Ballas like, because he obviously doesn't talk about it. So if he just made a copy of his foot, then players would be like, "Hold on, what's going on here?" So that's I guess that's probably for the benefit of the viewer that they made it like that. But it's just funny to me. The Queens were also not the first Orokin to ally with the Grineer. Bilsa was also allied with VIII, yes, but you know, not willingly. She was just sort of taken prisoner. What are the things that hold the same staff as Ballas? Deacons, yes, these are deacons. I hate his floppy legs. Yeah, they are. They're terrible. Yeah, so you have Ballas here. You have two deacons. One of them with like the mouth open. I don't know if that ever happens or we ever see that during the quest, but I guess that's like the front part of their face can open like a mouth. Still unclear what the deacons are, and how they work. Cause like, I mean, like, are they sentients? Are they Narmer converts? Probably not, because they're the ones doing the converting. But like, are they pure sentients? Because they look very human, I would say. I think in like the codex, you scan them and they're like infested flesh. That's probably not true as of the last update, which, you know, simplified all like the enemy types and the different health types. But I think before that they were like a specific infested flesh, in terms of like their damage resistances, which is just more confusing. But yeah, like, what are the deacons? Why do they have the powers that they do? Those are actually some of the things that I was like wondering the most while I was playing the quest for the first time, and you just don't get any answer to that. His fake foot is made of gold, if I recall. Yeah. In here, it's painted to match his skin color, which is also a lot more exaggerated than it is in the game. But I think in the quest actual cutscenes there, it's gold. Maybe the deacons are amalgams or genetically modified Narmer folk. Yeah, I mean, there's just no information. I feel like there's sentients. They're like just specific sentient units that Ballas created and oversaw specifically, or maybe Era. That's my guess, because I don't think they could be. I don't think they're Narmer converts, because they're, like I said, they're like in charge of Narmer. But it is weird. Also, these are not. This one has. This one has these like U-shaped things under their arms, which this one doesn't seem to have. All right. Alkenosts. Yeah, there are amalgams, and the Alkenosts are like the most, I would say, complete amalgams, in that they're like the most joined of sentient and human. They're like the final form of the amalgams. I could see the comparison with Alkanosts. So here we've got Lotus / Nata. Yeah, I think I mentioned this on stream before, but to me it was not clear that, like, there's obviously like a human-looking part of her and then a larger sentient part of her. But I didn't think that those were separable. I thought that she was like sort of like woven into the sentient part. And then in the cutscene in the New War where there's like the black hole. Oh, I mean, I should have said this earlier, but obviously there's going to be huge spoilers for like the whole plot of the New War in this whole section. I don't think it matters to anyone here. But the cutscene where there's like the void portal and she's getting sucked into it, and then like the sentient part of her gets sucked in, and it's just the human part of her remaining, or like the humanoid part. And I was like, wait, hold on, that was like a shell. It's like a lobster shell that just comes off, and the rest of her is like kind of like an intact humanoid body. Obviously not human, but I thought it was like a more complete. I didn't think it was two parts. I thought it was one part that with different looking sections, if that makes sense. So that was pretty funny. It is more easy to relate to Lotus when she looks more like a human and less like this, but I didn't think that was how it worked. Hello, I hope I'm not too late. Hello, Afree. Alright, so we're back to the Drifter. We've got more Drifter stuff, more sketches. So yeah, I think this is like the closer to what we ended up getting. I think this one might be actually just the complete thing that we ended up getting, but I'm not sure. And then this is like the alternate suit, the Grenier suit. These are, I think at start, or like, yeah, there's like three, aside from all like the purchasable cosmetics, that like pre-existed, but for the Drifter, when they first showed up, there was only three options. You could have like this like weary traveler one, the very clearly scavenged Grenier stuff, and I think you could have the third option, which was like a grown-up version of the Zariman transference suit. And so like when I was customizing the Drifter for the first time, that it was when I saw that the options, I was like, oh, okay, this is like a grown-up Tenno, because again, it wasn't clear to me when during the face reveal. This looks like a blend between the Grenier and like the Traveler stuff, because you've got like the cloak, but also like the armor and the Grenier face mask. And this one just looks like a Kuva Guardian. I don't know. It was like a Kuva Grenier Drifter armor scavenged thing. I think what I currently use for my Drifter is a version, like it's like a combination of like these two, because I like some of like the like the random little stuff you have hanging from them. This is interesting. So this is actually the Carnolith, I think that's what it's called, Necromech skin that came with Nidus Prime Access. I don't know why it's in this section. Yeah, this is, these are concepts for it, and then this is closer to what it actually ended up looking like. Except these two crests actually form a ring in the final product. I didn't purchase the Nidus Prime accessories, so I don't actually have this, but I've seen it. It looks pretty cool to me. Doesn't really look like a Necromech. See, in this one you have like the corn cob still, And I guess maybe this is like I think the finished product. Although this is still like a drawing, not a actual in-game render. I think there's like you can kind of see bits of the corn cob here. This says Necromech Metal Surface and Necromech Infestation. So parts of these, I guess, it's pointing out where the original surface of the Necromech is and where parts of it are actually growths from the infestation, but like based on Necromech materials. There were 4 or 5 suits on launch: Drifter, Zeraman, Grineer, poorly upscaled Templar Prime, and no suit at all. You could do no suit? I didn't know that. And I think I didn't have the Templar Prime. I have, because is that Harrow Prime Access? I think the only Prime Access suit I have is the one that came with, I want to say Valkyr Prime. It was really old. It was actually around the time of the Apostasy Prologue too. That came out. I think that's the only Prime Access. I should start buying more Prime Access and accessories. Because I do... The Prime accessories hit it out of the park, but I haven't bought any in like years and years and years. Thought Nideth came out sometime after the New War. New War launched with Harrow Prime. They might have switched it up. I don't know off the top of my head. Let me... Let me look it up, actually. If Nidus Prime actually released after the New War, that is indeed weird. September 8th, 2021. Yeah, so shortly before. Because obviously the New War launched in December of 2021. Nidus Prime and Nidus Prime Access came out in September of 2021. A few months before. Like 3 months before. But yeah, I still don't know why this is in the New War section. Unless I guess you used this skin for like the 5 seconds of footage that your Necromech gets in the New War. I think it is... I guess it's worth pointing out that Deimos and all of the Deimos content was supposed to come out after the New War. The devs have said this in interviews and stuff. The Deimos stuff was all supposed to come out after the New War, and New War was supposed to come out 2020. And then COVID hit, and they weren't able to do a lot of their plans. Because obviously the New War is very... there's all the cutscenes, all the people, like the character movement is very heavy on like animation and like mocap specifically. The DE used to talk about like the nuts and bolts of their stuff a lot more. I think more back in the day. I especially remember around the time of like the War Within. They would say that, like, oh, mocap and animation is, like, one of our biggest bottlenecks. There was, like, the first, like, big content drought controversy was happening around that time with The War Within. And it was, like, we have, like, limited animation resources. And I assume that's still, to some degree, the case. I know they upgraded to a different, like, a larger mocap studio. But... I assume that was like one of the biggest reasons they couldn't complete the New War in 2020, because that is something you very much have to do in person, like with other people. So, being shut down and not able to do the mocap for the animations, which are a huge part of the New War, they had to delay, and so I don't think there's anything I can think of off the top of my head in the Heart of Deimos quest that really needed mocap. So yeah, they they put out Deimos and a couple of other things in to replace the new war for that year, and then so the storyline I think would have been a lot different. But yeah, I think that's worth saying since we're in this section. We might see something that relates to versions of the new war that didn't come to pass. I wonder who would have done Neighborus without Deimos. I think they might not have done Neighborus that year. I think they would have waited until after Deimos. Because there wasn't. It's not like it was super, like advertised in advance. On this page, we have the biggest waste of potential this game has, besides not being able to use Twin Heck. Yeah. So I assume you're talking about Pazul here. So here we've got, Pazul, the ram's head, and I guess, Okay, so most of the differences here are in the shape of the horns and the position of the Archon Shard. This is, I think these horns and this Archon Shard is like what it is now, because the Archon Shard is like sideways through his head like this. I don't know if it's like through his actual eyes, but it's like sideways through the head, instead of like vertical here or like in the neck. I don't know what this is. But I'm pretty sure Pazul's horns go back like this and not curl around in front. But I'm trying to remember, because he doesn't, as you point out, he is not seen a lot, so it's hard for me to remember what he looks like. And then here, I guess, are some real outlandish versions of what he could be. Head droop down like this, with like a long neck and no horns. This one has like, I guess maybe elk antlers, but they look real weird. It's hard to see. I think it's hard to see the mouth on this one, but they're like, it's facing forward and it's open, and it's just a. This one's hard to see the like the actual head, and then here you get the extra pair of arms. Like Amar has like 6 arms, which I think is cool, or 4 arms, 6 total limbs, and then just like straight back horns, like slightly curved. Here we've got like the big throne thingy. I wonder if no notes, which is annoying, because I still would like to get more information on these these like Kuva mirror thingies. Obviously there's a ton of things we could imply or like infer and guess based on what they seem to do, but literally no information on what they're even called, or what they are, or what they do, and how they work. This like the big one. I think this is like the big one that's behind his throne on Pergasa, and these are just like random other ones. Again, you've got the sentient energy up here. This one's like set into like a pillar or something. Pazul has horns from Concept 1, but his shard goes through his skull like Concept 3. Yeah, that's what I am thinking based on my memory as well. When did Pazul actually show up? So he showed up in Veilbreaker, which was like a good 6 months after the new war released. I think it's clear to me that both Veilbreaker and Angels of the Zeramin were supposed to release. I think in DE's perfect world would have come out with the new war, so it would all be one connected story. But the new war is already way too long, and those are like decently large patches on their own, especially Angels of the Zeramin. So obviously they're not going to release all of that in one update, but I think thematically, chronologically, they would, all of this is like one big continuing story. So I'm not surprised to see Pazul in this section, because he is, I would say the Veilbreaker story is essentially just the continuation, the immediate continuation of the New War story. And then here you've got the ballast propaganda drones, which are super cool. Well, the dialogue from them is super cool. You only ever see them in, obviously, the New War, because after the New War, he's dead. I went and got... I have all the dialogue that these guys say in the write-up on the Orkin Archives for the New War. I list them all out in Mission 4, because that's when you first see them. And I think the dialogue, the propaganda dialogue from them is super cool and interesting. And then after the New War, you see them as the Pazul propaganda drones in Archon hunts and break-in armor missions. And those also have a ton of lines, but they're based around Pazul, and Pazul just generally sounds more insane. And he's extremely religious, whereas Ballast was only 90% religious in terms of his propaganda. So I find the Ballast propaganda lines more interesting than the Pazul ones, but the Pazul ones are the ones you hear more, because the Ballast ones you only hear during the New War. What the heck? Okay, so this is Corpus Railjack stuff and Corpus ship rework. I don't know what it's doing in this section. I mean, so I guess let me double check when this happened, because I think Deadlock Protocol. A lot of my time memory from this section of okay. So a lot of my chronological memory is a little bit hazy from this time period, as I'm sure it is for others. The Deadlock Protocol released in the middle of 2020, so that would have been when they were trying to specifically work on the New War, and then they got delayed for other reasons. So 2020 had the Deadlock Protocol, which is the redesign of all the Corpus ships, and then Corpus Railjack. When did that come out? 2021, March of 2021. Okay. So, yeah, that's what I thought. So, both the Deadlock Protocol and the Corpus Railjack, which both had big redesigns and the aesthetics of the Corpus, came out the year and before, and then the same year of the New War. So I guess they are sort of in the same general development pipeline. It is weird that this stuff is in the New War section, though. Did you see the Codex was updated to spread out the quest sections instead of us needing to do it manually? I haven't actually looked at the Codex since the Kome update. I know on the website, on the Warframe website, they've now divided the quests into 4 eras. And I think I will update my the Orkin Archives to reflect that, and I'll follow their grouping. Although I might change it because I actually disagree with some of their groupings of the quests. But yeah, so I am. I haven't looked at the Codex though. I assume they just did a similar thing, but I'm interested to take a look at that. I know they did a while back. They did separate out main story quests from the other quests. There's a toggle or a sorting thing you could turn on there. That's been there for a while. But yeah. I like their idea of bringing in, like, Sia's Vigil, Vox Fortuna, Heart of Deimos into the main storyline progression. I disagree with them taking out the New Strange and the other quest. Stolen Favors? Stolen Dreams. Those two quests they took out of the main story progression, which I disagree with. I think they should have kept those in. I'm still shocked that Duviri Paradox is now a side quest. Yes, I did know that they demoted it to side quest, I think in this update, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Codex now has the 3 main, side, and Warframe as 3 sections. Okay, so yeah, main, Warframe, and side quests. I wonder... I'll have to go back and try to remember what the ordering was before. Because, yeah. Alright, anyway. Just to... So, console. This is... I don't actually know what this is. This looks like the mod bench on the Tenno ship, actually. Or, the Foundry. I don't know what it is. This is, the rescue jail cell. I don't know how many people actually, notice or see this regularly. When they redid the Corpus ship tile set, they also redid, the jail cell for rescue missions. And now they're inside these, tubes. And I think if you fail it, they, get flushed away or something. I assume ejected out into space or something. I don't know what this is. This is... I don't... This looks like one of the Zariman, kitchen devices. And I don't know why it's covered by a fabric here. I think this is much larger than that. I think this is some large machine, but I have no idea what it is. This is a Comet Shard from Railjack. This is used for... I've seen this before, actually. Corpus Polarizer device. I think this is supposed to be used for the volatile game mode in Railjack. It doesn't, though. I'm not sure if this appears anywhere, but I have seen this image before, and it's also got a lot of notes. Side A in held state, side B in deployed state. So this is like a case, and then it extends out. Support stand telescopes out, support feet flip down, okay. Handle for carrying. Hollow display projector, capacitor telescopes out. This is labeled as Corpus Polarizer device, but that doesn't tell me a lot. So you carry this like a case, you deploy it vertically, it's got feet, it's got a capacitor, and then this thing on the side projects a display, which you see here. Hollow display indicating spirit/ghost charge. What? Rotates when active, the capacitor does. Capacitor overloads during deployment, releases spirit charge. Display notes, fully charged, semi-depleted, fully depleted. Held state, handle for carrying. These are the same notes. So, this is a device that holds a spirit charge and can deploy it and then gets depleted. Yeah, I have no idea what this was supposed to be used for, and I don't think it's in the game. But it's very weird. Wasn't Duviri always a side quest? Void Cascade. Exolizers. These might... Maybe these were like Exolizers. I mean, they're not in the game. That's not how it is now. Obviously, the Exolizers are like Zariman, Tenno, Orican things. I can see how this is an early form of Void Cascade, though. That makes sense. That makes a little bit of sense, especially because those the Exilizers get charged by death, by like spirit. Like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. This is interesting. This is a Murex descending next to. This is a Murex on the Orbalis, and it's descending next to one of the terraforming towers, which it looks like is being destroyed. It's like there's like pieces coming off of it, and it looks like it's disintegrating. Specifically, the golden arm. Murex towers have two like arms that wrap around to the front. Like golden rings. I don't know if maybe there's an image of that. Oh, I forgot. There's not a lot of pictures of that disappointed me when we were going through the Fortuna section. There's not actually a lot of pictures of the terraforming towers. I don't think we're going to find it. Yeah, so anyway, one of the golden arms of the terraforming tower is getting obliterated for some reason. And there's also this, like, ring of... I think this is, like, coming down and exploding or impacting, because this looks like a ring of concussive force, that you get from, like, an explosion. So there's clearly something happening, like actively happening in this photo. I'm just not sure what. Because the Murex is not coming down directly on the tower. I don't know if it's like trying to destroy it, or maybe trying to supercharge it, or maybe it's not coming down at all, but is already there and is like exploding some force for something. This is an interesting creature. Here we've got, I think, yeah, this is still the Orbalis on this side, but it's like stuff is getting narmerized and, like sentient-ified. So this is, Temple Fabrication. This is the head of Nefanyo, which, has like fallen down and is lopsided. I think this is the entrance to Enrichment Labs, or it could be really the entrance to a number of the Corpus bases on the Orbalis. They all have or a lot of them have like these big weird ramp wall structures, which you can ride up on a K-drive. But it's like one of those places, and you've got all the red sentient energy, rippling around, doing stuff. So I think this is like the Orbalis, like actively being invaded. I think that's what all three of these images are showing. Hello, Danny. Art book Salad V. Okay, this is a little bit clearer. This definitely looks like a Murex actively like impacting, like falling down, coming in. There's like a big impact crater. This one is, and this is still the Orbalis, because there's a fungus, there's a giant fungus thing here, and the land is generally snowy. I don't know why. This is like a double-tiered Murex. I'm not sure what's going on here. And you see, I think some other ones in the background too. I don't know what this like double, like, because like this is a Murex, like a very long Murex, and then you've got another one up here. I don't know what's going on. I was reading something about seashells the other day, and that's where the Murex name comes from. Yes, Murex is the name of a genus of shells. That I think it's one of the shells that you get like Tyrian purple from. Used to be very valuable because it was like the only place in like the ancient world where you could get purple pigment for coloring fabric and stuff like that. Is like a bunch of crushed up shells. And I think Murex is the specific kind of shell that you got the purple from, but I could be wrong. Yeah, but Danny's right. They are seashells. It's like some mollusk. That's what Murexes are. Should we put out another lore video? Yes, still working on the next lore video. Yeah, okay, so they are... Okay, well, according to Danny, they are... it is the same shells. So, yeah, Murex is a type of seashell where you get purple dye from when you crush them. I do wonder what, like, the link is, like, why that would be the name of them in Warframe. I guess we'll just have to crush a bunch of Murexes and find out. Alright, so down here we've got a couple of shots of Fortuna in like a ruined, wrecked state. Which is a bit interesting, because honestly it looks more like Deck 12. Because Deck 12 is like actually like a ruined, destroyed Fortuna. But Fortuna just got like turned into Narmer Town. It didn't get, like, destroyed as far as we know. So, that's interesting here. And then over here, you've got, I think these are, this one is definitely Earth. I think this one's also Earth. But these are, like, the Narmer outposts. So here you've got one of the propaganda drones. You've got, like, banners. Another propaganda drone. You've got like a bunch of like the banners and artwork and stuff like that, and some thing off in the distance, like a gate. On this one, you've got a bunch of the cages that actually, yeah. So this is one of the cages, but you also have a bunch of these things, which I think also might be cages of some kind, because there's like people in them. There's like a glass opening here, like a window or an opening, and then there's like a person with a veil on, and they're like screaming. So maybe these are like torture chambers or something. That's pretty grim. And then you've got one of the cages that the Ostrons are in, and then just a bunch of random other Narmer stuff. And on both of them you have the Drifter like approaching, like in the foreground. The left is Mass Effect, and the one on the right is Halo. Yes, true. That is... let's see. This is also... Alright. This is Orvalis, definitely, because you've got fungus. This I'm less sure of. I think this might be the Plains of Eidolon. I think this is one of the underground caves in the Plains of Eidolon. This, I don't think there's any way of telling, because there's actually inside of a tent. And then this, I think, is also the Plains, because there's like a lot of vegetation and stuff like that. So, but yeah, these are... but yeah, these are just like the open worlds, like after Narmer invasion, I would say. The interesting thing about this is that there's all this red, energy, which we know is used for building and rebuilding. The interesting thing here is that it's actually coming off of or going onto the giant fungi. So it looks like they're sort of building like a planet-wide, or at least, maybe not a whole planet-wide, but like across the Valis at least, like some giant network of something. It's very intriguing. Yeah, because I mean, you already know these fungi are like massive. They're the size of trees. So whatever this energy coming off of them is like the blueprint for some truly massive thing. And yeah, here I think this is inside a cave. Given the size of the opening, I think this is one of the Plains of Eidolon ones, not Orvelis ones, but it's hard to say. There's a Murex in the distance in like the open, because I think it's from the perspective of being inside the cave, and then there's some sort of machine in here in the cave, which again could be either Plains of Eidolon or Orvelis, because I actually think the caves in both of those areas are really interesting, and to a lesser extent the Cambion Drift, I would say, and also the Duviri, which is another open world, has actually, I would say, top tier caves. In terms of just like places to explore and look around and see like what is there, like the environmental storytelling is like amazing, I would say. And that's especially a shame in the Plains of Eidolon, because the caves that are open for you to explore, like, they change based on the bounty you have, which is absurd. So you can't even... I think the cave by the lake, by Twin Peaks, I think, or Twin Horns, I think is the name of that area. That's the only cave that is 100% guaranteed to always be open that you can go into. But all the other ones, they're usually closed. And, like, one of them will be open near the area where you're supposed to be doing your bounty, which is super, super, I don't know. They should just open up the caves, because they're really cool. There's no reason to go into them. You don't get anything out of it. But they are they're really cool places to explore, and I wish there was a reason. I like the Zeramin is great because it's such a great tile set with like lots of, like I said, the environmental storytelling, all these little design details that you get to explore because you're like exploring the whole tile set for the Void Plumes, or at least I was when the update dropped. When Angels of the Zeramin was still new, you're like going through bit by bit trying to find all the Void Plumes, and you get to encounter all the stuff and like see it and examine it. And I think, and to a lesser extent, that was also true of the Entrati Labs and Whispers in the Walls, because again, you're trying to find the Vokas. I think that's a great like sort of mechanic incentive that DE has discovered. But I honestly think that the caves of all of their open worlds are so interesting, and they've clearly put a lot of like effort and thought into them, and there's no reason. That's not true. There's actually I was going to say they should put a reason to explore the caves. There is a reason, because you can actually find, not on the Plains of Eidolon, that's again an exception, but on the Cambion Drift, or Valis, I think just those two, you actually can find like the reputation tokens in the caves. You can find toroids in the caves of the Orvelis, and the mother, son, daughter, father, grandmother Otak tokens. Probably not grandmother. I don't know. You can find the family tokens like just like on the ground in the caves, on the Cambion Drift. They're very rare, and I don't think there's a way to like. I mean, they spawn in set locations, but like I don't think no one is gonna go out there and memorize all the token locations. So there actually is a reason to go explore those caves, but nobody does it because it's just faster to get the tokens through other means. You guys ever played Dark Souls? Can you not explore all the caves without taking a bounty? Not on the Plains of Eidolon. On the other places, yes. The other place, on the Orvelis, Cambion Drift, Like, you can go anywhere you want. On the Plains of Eidolon, you can only access the caves that are active for you based on your bounty. And most of them will be closed, which is just infuriating. If they change that, that would be great news, but I don't think they have. Rebecca copied Elden Ring and made cool caves. Anyway, that was my cave related rant. Here we've got like this is like a tent like on the Plains of Eidolon, I guess. It's sort of hard to tell what's going on. There's a bunch of like machinery and stuff, but I really am not sure what's going on in this picture. And then here you've got oh, you know what? This is the Drifter Camp, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think this is the Drifter Camp. It's like got this red sunset wildfire tinge to it. There's a Mirrex in the sky. I think this is the Lisette / Orbiter. Those are not actually the same thing, but the landing craft that shows up in the Drifter Camp is always a Lisette, I think. I actually don't know, because I don't listen to me on that one. I have no way of knowing. But yeah, this is like the Tenno ship, I'm pretty sure. It's like super overgrown. Yeah, I think this is the Drifter Camp, or like a version of the Drifter Camp. Alright. This is the Orvelis again. This is the starport, I'm pretty sure. The starport is one of the 3 like major facilities on the Orvelis, the Corpus facilities. And it's got this big tower thingy that marks it. That like it's like a big skyscraper that sticks up out of the ground. And obviously it's got all this sentient energy because it's getting, taken over. The starport isn't. It continues to be an important location for Narmer, because it's where they manufacture veils. Yeah, it's where they manufacture the Narmer veils, which you see during the 5th mission of the Veilbreaker quest, or the New War, where you have to infiltrate. That is the starport. So the insides I think are. I'm trying to remember. I think the inside part of the starport that you go into during the New War is like actually completely different. They like really rearranged it. Because you're doing like the specific stealth part of the quest, which I think is everyone's most hated part of the New War. Where you're trying to like avoid the deacons and stuff like that. You can go into the starport like on like the normal Orvelis, and it's different. It's got a different layout. I used to do like a bunch of toroid farming in those parts. The places where they drop the most frequently. Well, the only place where they dropped initially were at those 3 places: the Temple of Prophet, the Enrichment Labs, and the Starport. If you're in any of those places, the enemies have like a small chance to drop toroids. Nowadays, the toroids also drop from like the arachnoids, so in theory they could drop anywhere. But yeah, I've never played Dark Souls. I have also never played Dark Souls. Okay. Oh, that's the end. I guess that makes sense. That was a bit of a shorter section. Let's see. So we're not gonna. Let's see. I think. I wonder if we can. Whoa. Huh. Okay. So I think the just by flipping through, I think the Zariman section is actually going to be fairly short. Do I dare continue? Let me see. I might actually be able to go through this. Yeah. So it looks like the Duviri section is actually pretty long, which kind of makes sense. And the Zariman section is fairly short. And we've got 40 minutes left in like our normal stream time. So I think I'm going to I think I'm going to try to go through the Zariman section. I think we can do it in 40 minutes, and if not, we'll go a little bit over. You saw the Albert painting? And then that way we can have next week, or not next time, I'm still not sure when the next stream is going to be. We will have the full 2 hours for the Duviri section, which might need it, based on from what I could see. Alright, so let's go through the Zariman, and I think parts of it will be quick, and then maybe there's parts where I will talk for like a long ass time. We'll see. Alright, so the Zariman. Forward from Kerry Black, the art director. Working on Warframe is a fascinating experience. It's fast-paced, iterative, and constantly evolving. One moment you're engaged with Deimos, besieged with infestation, and soon after you're working on a spaceship that is a signature setting for the game with the Zariman. Many people made key contributions to how the place was built, the flow, and to the novel spaces for contrast. What? It was interesting to see how something as unexpected as giant parks on a spaceship could feel natural for that setting. The opportunity to preview the setting as part of the new war, followed by a standalone release, and then have it as a cool place to visit into the future, is a testament to the dedication and prowess of the team. So yeah. The Zariman, I mean, of course, for anyone, I assume everyone here, knows, it's, like, centrally important to the story and the lore. Interestingly, let's see. So I think the new war is probably the first time it really gets shown off in, like, a clear way. Technically, it also shows up in the Sacrifice quest as one of the Vitruvian, panels. It shows like a blueprint diagram of the Zariman 10-0. But it might be, if you're playing the Sacrifice, if you're like, I'm assuming if you're going through Warframe for the first time and you're playing the Sacrifice, you have no point of reference for what that is, and it's not related really to what Ballas is talking about at the time. And it doesn't look like a ship. I think that's the biggest thing, because it's shown up a few times, but it doesn't really look like a ship. Obviously, if you play the Duviri Paradox before the New War, then you'll see the Zariman like in the sky, and Teshin specifically calls it. He's like, that is the Zariman, but it's also like embedded in an island. But the shape of the ship, this weird, and then it also shows up in the Rel webcomic, which is obviously not in the game, but was released with Chains of Harrow. That was the first time I would say that, also in 2017, but in the earlier part of 2017, that's the first time we got like a canonical look at the Zariman. It's very weird and blocky and sketched out as a cartoon, and you only see it for one panel. But it like confirmed that was the shape of the Zariman. But the shape is very old. I wonder if I'm not going to flip back to it, but I think we saw it actually in the Dark Sector section, because it is in the demo for the original like 2005 demo for Dark Sector, which later became Warframe, like a long time later, has a ship that looks like the Zariman. So this ship shape has always been like in DE's like blueprint from like the start, and then we first saw it in the Rel webcomic, and then it actually made its way into the game during the sacrifice in the little Vitruvian blueprint, but and then you actually get to see it in the New War. So yeah, it's interesting, sort of how long it took them to really delve into like a central part of the lore. How big do you think the Zariman is? It's like the size of a small planet. I don't think it's the size of a small planet. It's definitely absolutely huge. It's like space station sized, like city sized. I don't think it's planet sized for sure, but I would say it's definitely like city sized. Like, you know, all of New York flying around. Probably bigger. How far into the book are we? We're actually close to the end. Yeah, so there's the Zariman section, Duviri section, the Arsenal section, which I think is pretty hefty, and then there's like a final section that I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, I think we're like 25% of the way, or 25% left in the book. The Zariman is an Orcan ship, but it barely has any gold on it. Well, yep, that's because it's there's no actual Orcan on the ship. It's built by the Orcan, but it's not built for the Orcan. There's a decent amount of gold in like the Art Deco sculptures and like some of the other, like the Zariman logos and stuff like that. There's some gold, but you're right, it's not made of gold like an Orcan structure would be. Yeah, rough math, but for the size, I don't personally. This is just like my personal thing. I don't see much use in like trying to calculate the canonical size of things, even based on like the little bits of information we know. So I don't pay too much attention to like those types of posts. All right, so going through this, we've got sketches of the holdfasts. These are I've seen these before. I think these are by Studio Cube, which is like a I think they're two brothers that are like a team of concept artists. You got Quinn, Hombath, and Cavallero. Yeah, just different sketches of them. Quinn's got his tablet, the Crystal Index. Hombath is Hombath. Cavallero's got tons of guns, which he's not supposed to have. I mean, it looks like he has like a rifle across his back, which, as we know from the Zariman lore, he was not supposed to have any real guns. He's got another gun. This one's like sort of behind his head, but it looks like he has another gun on his back, and then a bunch of like, you know, spears and pointy things. Tons of knives. Yeah, this Cavallero is like fully decked out. He has the whole armory. Quinn also has this badge on his chest, which I didn't notice like when, like, during the quest or like doing all of the Zariman rank up stuff. I never noticed this badge. I only noticed it when I was like going through doing stuff for my video on the Zariman, which is, I think, one of the I only have it's one of like the handful of videos I have so far, but I'm really happy with it. It was like when I was going through footage of Quinn for the video that I was like, oh, he's got like an ornamental badge, like I assumed to signify his rank, which is cool. Cavallero wished for a gun, the void granted him. That might be. The thing, well, yeah. So this, it's unclear if this is like post-disaster, because he looks fine, but like the gun looks kind of beat up or weird, and then these weapons, these like melee weapons he has behind him, they look improvised. The stuff that's like in the holsters and like on his gear, those are fine, those are like intact, but the stuff he has on his back, the two guns and like the swords or spears or whatever, the guns look beat up, and there's something tied to it over here. And the weapons, they're like random broken things tied together. So I don't know if that's like post like accident and he's like trying to like gather what he needs to survive or something. It's a little weird. One of the interesting things is obviously the Cavallero, his face completely different from what it looks like in game. My guess would be that they matched. Let me look up something really quickly. Actually, I am not going nearly as fast as I thought I would. That was not right. Okay, yeah. One of the things, so yeah, Cavallero is his face looks a lot different from here. He's bald, whatever. I would assume that they changed his model to maybe make him look a little bit more like his voice actor. If that's not the reason why, I just googled it really quickly. And the voice actor for Cavallero, Brent Mukai, is also bald. He also doesn't look super like Cavallero in game, but I wonder if that's why they made him bald. And his skin tone is like a little different. But yeah, this Cavallero looks a lot different. He's also like a bit like thicker, like bulkier, more muscular. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it looks like his clothes and everything, his outfit mostly stayed the same, but I would say other than that, his body and like design changed a fair bit, it looks like, in development. Guns weren't allowed, but grenades were. Just like in airports. Guns weren't allowed, that's pretty clear. Cavallero had explosives. I don't think it actually specifically calls them grenades. I think they just called explosives. And if they're not specifically called grenades, I would say maybe they're, blasting tools for farming or terraforming, possibly. Yeah, he just calls them explosives. So they're not specifically grenades as far as we know. That did not work. Yeah. Not, yeah, we don't know that he had grenades. I mean, it would make sense. Yeah, they're never called grenades that he blows himself up with. Shampoo, jade light. Bottle of water, get glassed. Or improvised explosives out of cleaning chemicals. Yes, that's also. I didn't say that, but yes, that's also a very good. I mean, there's a variety of. There's a bunch of ways you can make it or get explosives. Now the video's gonna get on a watch list. Anyway, going through these. These are some very great. These are some of the best arts. These, I believe, are by Marco Hasman, who is a great concept artist. This is the. There's a name for this. This portrait actually has a name that I'm forgetting. But it's it's the Tenno and their parents. The one that you get, it changes. Wait, hold on. This one's actually different because it's got the grown up Tenno in it, or not grown up, but like the Tenno is in it. The version of this that you get is like when the Tenno is like a baby, so the mom is holding them. But the suit colors, the skin colors, and the hair color for the mom, because the dad is bald, they will change based on what you pick for your operator. And then if you like change it and come back to the photo, it'll be different. So the photo just like reacts to match your operator. And then it's cracked. They made it so it's like kind of the faces are kind of indistinct in this one. The one in game, the photo is cracked and the crack goes right across the faces, so you can't tell their facial features. Because obviously, I think it would be too much work for them to change the facial features just dynamically. The one we got has a baby. This one's interesting because it's got there's no. I guess they could have taken this photo on the Zeraman, but yeah. You're gonna avoid Angel. Just just great character design, I would say. Albrecht and Trotty and Archimedes and Yanta. These pictures I end up using a lot in my videos for when it is appropriate because they're just great. They're just great images. Really, like I can't say how much I love Marco Hasman's work on this. Albrecht in this one, normal arm, not the Orican elongated arm. He is clearly Orican in terms of like the skin color, and I would also say the dress, the clothing. Pure white eyes. Most Orican that we see have like solid colored eyes. What he's got is he's holding this mask, which he uses and was wearing during the his first trip, and you can see statues with him wearing them. It's like on the table. It's just resting on the table behind him. Gotta head out. Alright, see you, Phenomenist. Thanks for stopping by. Archimedes and Yanta, she's also holding onto something. I don't think it's supposed to be anything that we can tell. Looks like a necromecha corn cob thing over here. I always thought that was interesting, but that's in the frame. Alright, here we got a case. Obviously this is more associated with Duviri, but I guess it kind of makes sense that it's here because I don't know if you know, but this actually does show up on like some artwork and stuff on the Zeraman. You can see it like tacked up on walls and stuff like that. And the Tales of Duviri is a book that was like physically present on the Zeraman because it was like assigned reading. Albrecht's portrait actually shows some void corruption on his face. What? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's also I think that this I think this is like an older, this we have a few depictions of Albrecht and none of them really look the same. This I would say that this is probably like an older picture of Albrecht from before he went into the void. Before he got super famous. Well, actually, he was probably. It seems that he was like fairly well known before this. He just wasn't revered because he wasn't like important to civilization. But he was like rich and apparently at some point there would have been crowds to like watch his experiments and stuff like that. So he was like well known, and I think that's probably from like where this portrait was, because after his incident, his whole body had to be rebuilt in like the in like the Nepenthe baths or whatever he was using to heal himself, and like Lloyd helped him heal, and then after that, he decided he wouldn't use Kuva to transfer into new bodies. So I think this is like his old body, or maybe even before that, like an old, like some body before that even, because this isn't really what he looks like when we see him, like in game. So I mean, that would just be my guess. So I would say that this is probably before he had like direct void exposure. And so I don't see any on his face, and I wouldn't expect there to be any there. I'll send an in-game screenshot of what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, for sure send me a screenshot. The portrait does appear on the Zariman, and I think you can buy it too. Yeah, you can buy it. So you can, as like a decoration. So you can access it in the game. I will for sure look at whatever screenshot you send me. Anyway, Keith from Dubiri. Here actually is the Exilizer. This is what it looks like when it's like working, and then it's got like the void corruption. This is how you encounter them, is they've got like a little snarl of corruption they have to kill first. This is like a chest of some kind, some sort of like utility cabinet thing. Warframe for scale. This is a molted cask. These are the rare, like reinforced containers that you can find in the Zariman. I forget what they have. I mean, rare canisters usually have like built forma and like, random rare items. Xephos parts maybe. I don't know. I've only seen a molten cask like once or twice. I mean, I don't go hunting for them. They're probably there a lot more often than you realize. Unless you're just spamming Golden Instinct as often as you can. Then you have the actual Zariman. Still such a unique, interesting shape for a ship, I think. I think that specific Kaith cutout only appears once during the New War. I mean, yeah, I don't know about the specific Kaith. I know there's images of a Kaith, and I mean, I think you can see it multiple places, but I guess I'm not sure. I've seen these before, actually. I think these are by Marco Hasman, and I think these are by someone else who I'm blanking on. So this is the clock in the schoolyard, like the gym, the outside like gymnasium PE area. There's got this clock, which is interesting, and I do think it moves. It obviously doesn't tell time normally. We got the hour hand and then the long minute hand. Interesting that's I guess that's still the way they display time. And then here is the Lunar Court. I think this is also the Lunar Court, maybe? It's unclear. This is like, this is the scoreboard for the Lunar Courtyard. It actually doesn't look like it has the actual Lunar Courtyard here. But this is the scoreboard for the Lunar Courtyard, different like concept versions of it. And then these are the locker rooms adjacent to the Lunar Courtyard. There's one for Team Sun and one for Team Moon. This one, as you can tell from the logo, is for Team Moon. It's like a locker room. It's full of like pieces that you would play and like places to like store stuff. And then on the wall, you've got these sketches for like plays, and then they are like blown up over here and provided. You've got the different plays, which is interesting. I don't remember. I don't remember if the in-game it actually has these these diagrams. I'd have to double check, because I think it would be super cool if those were actually there, and they like they took care to like sketch them out what they would look like too. Here's a floor plan. He says like arena, the moon, sun, and then it goes out to it just says fractals, which I think is like their word for the void corruption. I'm trying to remember if that's how they. I thought the locker rooms were side by side, but in this diagram it says that one of them goes into the next one, which I'm not sure about. Food cubes. They have condiments for the food cubes. Yeah, so here, well, so this top image, I think this is just a hallway. I don't think this is like a super important tile. You do have the, you do have this graffiti, by the way, on the window. This is graffiti that actually does show up. It's like of a shadowy figure coming out of the Zeraman. And then it casts the shadow because it's on the window, and it casts like the long shadow of the creepy figure. I think that's super cool. There's an Excalibur in the middle for scale. And then down here is the kitchen. You got your tray of food cubes. It literally says cube rations. Alright. Magnetic panel along the wall. This is a boiler. Used trays are stuck to the magnetic panel. This just it says mysterious appliances. Sterilizer ? Mixer / beverage machine ? Chopsticks, container for chopsticks. So the if you buy them from Hombath, and I think you can also buy them you can buy different ones in the store in like the in-game market. But most of these you'll buy directly from Hombask for Zeraman standing, and they have names and descriptions of what they like basic descriptions. I don't know them very well, but you know, it'll be like, oh, this was used to heat up the food cubes. This was used to make the food cubes. I guess they get made in the kitchen. I don't know. It was like this is used to dispense beverages. So you can actually learn a bit about like these random devices by like checking out Hombask's shop, which is nice. I like it when they add in lore to like the random items you get. Duviri is great for that, by the way. The decorations you can buy from Akrithis has like a bunch of tiny little lore in it. They have condiment cubes, separate cubes for the condiments. These were Orcan peasants eating anything other than plain dry nutrient cubes would probably get your tongue ripped out. Well, yeah, I don't know, because, like, they're... It's tough to say, but, like, Tuval's propaganda, you know, made it seem like they were sort of held in high regard. And obviously propaganda is propaganda, but they don't really... From, like, the information we have, it doesn't sound like they were, like, oppressed and destitute. It seemed like they were, like, fine. It seemed like they were just... It was like a middle-class lifestyle, generally, you know? They seemed like they were doing fine. I don't think there's any complaints about the food in the game. You know, we get a lot of records from, like, the Zeraman ARG. There's a lot of, like, just dialogue you get from talking to them in the game. And it seems like they were fine on the Zeraman. They weren't... I wouldn't call them peasants. You know, politically, obviously, they have no power, because it's just not a democracy. They're just ruled by the Orcan. But I think the Orcan wanted them treated well. Because they are, you know, the vanguard of civilization to the next solar system. On a food cube maker IRL. I bet you could get one. I mean, the concept of food cubes is not impossible. They have food cubes. Spam is a food cube, in a sense. Also, the cubes, the different colored cubes, they're actually different things, which you can also find in Hombask's shop. Like, one of them is called Protein Cube, one of them is called Carbohydrate Cube. So you got your, like, major food groups just in discrete units for some reason. Personally, I prefer normal food where it kind of is mixed together. The best balanced meal is the carne asada fries, where you have all of your food groups in one giant pile. Technically, you blend food to basically a liquid state and then freeze it in an ice cube dry. I think that maybe sounds right. I have to double check on like the item descriptions, but I think there's like they do stuff to the cubes to eat them. But then you also see the Drifter just eating the cube straight up though. So who knows? And now I'm hungry. One of the funny things I think is in like the cutscene where you're meeting with the Drifter for the first time. The Drifter's like eating and he's like, "You should eat. You're pretty hungry." And the operator's like, "Oh yeah, I am hungry." And they like pick up a cube and then they just get so engrossed in the conversation they like put it down. They don't eat for that whole cutscene. The Drifter does eat and the operator doesn't because they're too like distracted. It's really funny to me. I'm about to commit food crimes, lol. Well, yeah. After this stream, I have to decide what I'm gonna eat, but I'm definitely gonna. Interesting. These are okay. So these three are just weird. They're very basic sketches, like just black and white and gray, but like very simple like sketches. I don't know what they are though. These are like golden rings. These are like Orokin decorations. You see them around. I don't actually think you see any of them in the Zeramin though. But these are like a common thing you would find on Lua in the Orokin Void. And then they're like cracked and there's like tendrils coming out of them. Here you've got a bunch of discs growing. Maybe this is like the fractal, the void corruption spirals. I don't know about that too. Mac and cheese cube. Oh man. Does the operator even need to eat? I think that's up in the air. I've seen lots of discussion about that. If the operator has like biological functions. And honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of discussion. I would say there's points to be made in either direction. I think they probably like do normal stuff like eating and sleeping. I don't know if they need to though. Like I don't think they can die of starvation. I would think they would feel hungry and that's not fun. They're still a kid. Yeah. That's a whole big discussion about like what is the operator? Because I think you could. There's some implications, not like hard fact. I think there's like some implications that they are just void energy, or like, that like what they are physically is not important. I think that's unclear to me. Oh, interesting. This is really cool, actually. This is like the Zeramin, like as it was intended, like as it was. This is like a bar or some sort of thing, but there's like people. There's like a ton of people there. It's like a big gathering. That's super cool. And then I guess it's underneath the park. I think this is like a glass roof for the bar and a floor for the park. Maybe? Or maybe it's a window. No, this is not outside because there's actually stuff up here. There's like additional. These are windows into other levels. But the perspective is like crazy because this part's definitely going out into space. And you see like asteroids out here and like random space stuff. Random void energy. But there's like different levels to the ship inside here. You got this place here. There's also tons of Orcican text that's just projected in white out here. I wonder if this is part of the sketch just to show. And I should really. I'm not gonna translate this now, but this is actually complete Orcican text. It's a bunch of it, and it's very clear. So, sorry. It could be translated, and I will come back to it. I think I've said this a couple of times, but I'm gonna do like a wrap up stream once we've gone through the whole book, and be like, these are my favorite parts. And I love this picture. This is like, I mean, this is super. It's super cool to see the Zariman as it was like used, as it was before the incident. That's a super interesting concept to me. And this is like basically what it is. You've got a bunch of people here, so we'll revisit this and we'll see what that Orcican text says too. I sent the screenshot. Oh, did you? General lore channel. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a look at that real quick. Oh, wait, where'd you get this photo? So, yeah, I saw the picture that you sent of, Albrecht. I guess I see what you might be calling void corruption or void scarring. I don't really think that's what that is. But, I mean, it could be. I think it's maybe... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not clear on that. I wouldn't call it that. It just seems like his face is like, I guess... I would say his face is like weathered. But that's not... You wouldn't have that for an Orcican face, really. But, you know, Albrecht's always been weird and not necessarily bound by Orcican societal norms. But, I mean, yeah. It's interesting. I think there's, I think you could see it either way. And then you also sent the photo that Baron is holding during the New War. Where did you even get this photo? I mean, that's also interesting to have. Alright. What? What? Okay. We're disregarding that. This is actually a colored version of this. You have these are the golden disc medallion decorations, but there's like a bunch of them in a row, and then they're dissolving into tentacles on the bottom. And then there's a person standing in front of them. That's interesting, but still not super clear about what or why. We'll come back to this. This is just Zariman wreckage. This honestly looks like a screenshot of like one of the tiles. That's how accurate it is. You got, twisting pillar of void corruption here, graffiti over here. Everything is ruined and torn down in shambles, which is great. And then here you've got some various other large tiles. I think these both might actually be the docking bay. Not perfectly represented in game, as it is in the game, but kind of looks like the docking bay just based on the size and the openness and the layout. One interesting thing is, so there's a lot of like hooks hanging down on chains from the ceiling, which is like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. And then you've got these pillars, and there's like a bunch of them here, but there's only one, there's like one prominent one here. It's like a spike with a bunch of other spikes and then there's like stuff hanging off of the spikes. It looks like a creepy thing you would put to like that like a demon would put up in their yard or something like that. It's like real weird and freaky. So I mean, this is just like, I would say it's like got this like occultish demonic vibe to it, or like serial killer occult, not like cult occult. But it's like real creepy and like scary. I don't know what the deal is there. Because like we see in the Zariman tile set, there's the void corruption, which is like, you know, that's like almost like a force of nature. You see like destruction and violence, but that doesn't seem to be like, and then the graffiti. But this is like serial killer shit. Like that's weird. I don't know what that's doing there. Like I would say that's not the type of stuff that you see in the Zariman. Alright. So coming back here, I don't know how good of a I don't know how well this comes across on the stream, but it's a bunch of giant, like really huge giant faces. Some of them are screaming, or not screaming, but like shouting, and there's like a beam of light coming out of their mouth. And then there's like there's like twisted, you know, they twist the neck or whatever, or the top of the head in this case, or like I guess the cheek, but like, you know, the face comes from something else on like, I don't know how to say it. But there's these giant heads, and they look like they're made of metal or stone. These look like vessels, and that's really weird to see them here. This book came out, I believe they released this art book for TennoCon 2023, and that's when it came out, so it's got no content past Duviri. No Whispers in the Walls or 1999 stuff, except from, you know, what we can sort of glean from looking at the old concept arts and, like, looking forward, I guess. But there's no section for 1999 or any of that, or Whispers in the Walls. So this picture, this looks like a really early concept of the vessels, and I don't know what they were meant to do or be in this. I think they're clearly associated with the void because they're weird and twisted. They've got these like strands of flesh coming from other places, and then over here you've also got some like other stuff. It's not like this is a whole, everything in this picture is like weird, creepy dreamscape thing, where like, you know, the ground doesn't make sense, and like I don't know what these things are over here, and you've just got like weird tendrils going off into nothing. So this is like some freaky, like weird void shit, but like the giant faces, the giant heads, like is very, very, like I would be confident that this is like that the vessel sort of developed off of this sketch, this image, or whatever this is supposed to be. So this is extremely interesting to me, and I wonder so I guess if I'm pretty sure this, let me just double check something real quick. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So this, the book came out, TennoCon 2023 is like when they announced it, and then it didn't, you know, you could buy it and it wouldn't get delivered for a few months, it looks like, just based on my Googling. I actually got this, and then they sold out pretty quickly. And then they restocked it and announced it for TennoCon 2024. That's when I got this copy. It actually came within a couple of weeks. It came very quick. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to check out when it was originally available, because when they printed this, Whispers in the Walls was not announced. Like, nothing about that was announced, including the vessels. So this image is like just out of nowhere if you were opening this. And then probably anyone who bought this was also paying attention during TennoCon 2023 when they did show off the vessels and, talked about them a little bit, because it's got like the demo for Whispers in the Walls. Like the first mission of it, where you transfer into the vessel. But so I assumed that by the time anyone like cracked this open and read it, they maybe had some familiarity with the vessels. But this picture is like coming out of nowhere. If you weren't paying attention or weren't familiar with it, it's interesting to me. You just have just giant faces and void magic. Like, I don't know what else to say. So we've only got a couple more pages, and now we're on to like the big wide images, which are great. These, I think, are all Marco Hasman stuff. This is the destroyed classroom. These desks are giant in this one, at the broken screen. This is also the classroom as you encounter it much later, with like the Void Angel like in the middle of the room, like wings going up to the ceiling. This is just a Warframe going up to a pile of void corruption, which maybe is an angel. It's hard to see which. This might be the angel. It's hard to discern anything from that. These are the I think these are just like the park areas. This one's interesting. This one's got like a pagoda type, like shrine almost, which wouldn't be out of place. Warframe's got a lot of like Japanese influences. You can get stuff like this in like the dojo decorations and stuff. But this doesn't appear like in the actual Zariman. Like it could. Like I said, it wouldn't be out of place, but it doesn't. So this like little shrine thing is interesting to me. And this I think is like. I think this is like the underneath, like directly underneath the center in like the Albrecht Park, because like the Albrecht statue's on a big platform, and then you can go under it, and there's like a spot with like a bed where like someone was sleeping for a while, and there's like a little campground there, like a little hiding spot, and I think that's what this is. I think this is like the floor, and then the Albrecht statue is above it. And there's like a big tree here. But yeah, I think these are both just like in the park areas of the Zariman. Whoa. This is cool. This is great. This is another picture of like showing you like the multiple levels, the different, this is like a great image of, just like Zariman life. So you got different levels of apartments. You see the windows here. This is like just a big, like terraced park essentially. Like this hillside is like one big park, but it's like slanted, so it's like terraced basically. And you can like walk up the driveway here, or you can just walk slowly up these steps here. To get from level to level, it is a little inefficient, but if you're like on this level and you want to go up to your friend's house on this level, you like walk through like these parts here. I assume there's probably an elevator you could take too, but this is super cool. And then past this like blue void stuff is like outer space. So I would say this is probably like a giant window, because you can see out here there's like asteroids floating around and stuff. But you got like more wooded trees down here, more like facilities and stuff off to the side here. This is great. I love this image. I'm gonna come back to this with like a magnifying glass to see what I can see, because there's just I don't think there's a ton in the details, but this is just really cool. Okay, that was it. This is a great place to leave it. All right. After this, we got the Duviri Paradox, which is gonna be great, I think. But let's see, what are we doing on time here? Only 8 minutes over. Okay. So looks like that was the right decision to just do all the Zariman stuff. And then yeah, I will try to see. I think next Friday isn't gonna work for the stream. But yeah, I'll try to work out a time. You know, my schedule is still a bit nebulous at the moment. But I would like to get back to like locking down a consistent time to do these streams. And then after we finish with the art book, you know, I can just move to like a different type of stream where we just talk about lore stuff. Probably over like Warframe gameplay, and yeah. So yeah, we've got let's see, at least another 3, I would say, streams out of the art book, and then a 4th one as like a wrap up type thing where I just discuss the whole book, and point out things that I like, and I'll try to get like some maybe. I'll try to like do some high quality scans of like the really interesting parts here. Because yeah, I agree that this would be a great wallpaper. It is across 2 pages. Like this is like the full 2 pages. So you'd have to be. You'd have to like do a good job of scanning it. But oh man, this thing is heavy. All right. Well, that is it for this week, and I'll see you on the next stream. Thanks for stopping by, and yeah, see you around.